Okay, you guys can see my screen, right? Hear me, see my, everything's good? Sure, Karen. All right, let's get going. Hey, Dirk, how are you? Okay, 12, 21, 22. Now, these setups are called anchor setups, okay? These set up the anchor coming out of level 3. These are 15-minute anchors, right? But you also find them in the 1-hour charts as well. All right, so what are the 12 and 22 trade? Notice I left out 21. 21 is different. Okay, and where do I find it? The 12 and 22 trade setups are the second leg of a larger structure has the second leg. Okay, the second leg of a larger structure, the second leg, we'll show you that. In level 3 as well as resets. Why reset? Because these are anchors. They're a 3-level drop or rise, and that's why we call them anchors. Okay, the first leg is formed using vector with a trap. The market makers then bring price back to the first leg, inducing traders to go wrong way before pulling it away to give us our reversal pattern. You got to know what your reversal patterns are and how to trade them. We covered that earlier in the curriculum. Okay, M's, W's, half a bat, head and shoulders, it's to the low, and the 3 drives pattern. Okay, when that big M or W pattern forms the second leg, on the second leg is called a 12 or a 22 trade setup. Okay, so what is the difference between a 12 and 22 trade? 12 and 22 trade setups both have second leg of a second leg. That means there's a little M at the blue tracer. That's all it means. Okay, the only difference between the two setups is that the 22 trade has an M on the first leg, while the 12 only has one leg. It's like a half a bat. So a 12, you can think it's half a bat and then an M on the blue tracer. And a 22, you're going to a little M, and then you get an M on the blue tracer. That's it. Okay? So the question is, what is a 21 trade setup? Right? The 21 trade setup is called by that name because the second leg of a larger structure only has one leg. For example, a half a bat. So in other words, with a 21, 22, 1, right? You have 2 legs, that means it's an M, and then 1 leg is a half a bat. So you have a M first on the first leg, and the second leg is going to be half a bat. That's it. Okay, keep things simple. Steve was the one that came up with this, which is kind of cool. Okay, these are usually found in level 3, the resets, as just like, all right, the outside structure usually forms a M or W pattern as the first leg. That's why hence 2 legs and then 1 leg, right? The second leg is the A top or a V bottom, and the entry is the half a bat pattern. You have to follow the half a bat pattern rules on entries. So there are 2 types of half a bat. We've covered that in the curriculum. Okay, so how do we know we are at the peak, right? Very important question. Most people ask me, well, how do I know I'm at the peak? Here we go. This is, this is what Steve taught us, right? 3 to 5 days of rise or drop, right? 3 times the ADR is met or exceeded. Okay, EMA is all fanned out. Market makers use vector to create the outside structure. All right, TDI is usually overbought or oversold. Harmonic patterns gives us added confirmation. And the most important thing is the reversal pattern is present. Example, M's, W's, half a bat, and head and shoulders. Head and shoulders, I call it the 3 drives as well as 3 hits to the high or low. So that's the head and shoulders. All right. So these are the rules for 12 and 22 trades. Okay. So first thing you're going to look for is vector from the outside structure, just like finding a peak. Okay. You're going to look for trapping candles in the first leg, railroad tracks, pins to the high, pins to the low, A top, V bottom. Okay. For a 22, you're going to find an M or a W. Usually the first leg in the prior day, and then today we're looking for our pattern on or at the blue tracer. Sometimes they're going to be slightly below. They widen the spread, or sometimes they're going to be above it, hitting the stops. Okay, price comes to challenge the high of yesterday or low of yesterday, which is the blue tracer, and sometimes they'll fail to take it out, forming the second leg. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. It forms an M or W pattern with a nameable second leg. On the second leg, for example, railroad tracks, star, or quarter wood, you can take it early. Or if that doesn't look like any of these three, then you're going to wait for the shift. Okay? It's very easy to see railroad tracks, star, and a quarter wood. When that happens, RSI line will not be below or above the market baseline. You're going to get one leg out of the band, one leg in the band, but my signal line is going to cross. That's the only confirmation you're going to have. It's not going to be a confirmed move. The shift candle is going to be the market baseline cross. Okay? Follow the rules of M and W pattern for an entry and use TDI confirmation. All right, so here's an example of a 12 setup, right? Here's my outside structure, right? Railroad tracks, they pull away. You see the blue tracer right here? They come back. They give me a nice M. Notice the first leg, no more than 4 candles, right? Can I take this railroad track? Yeah, outside the band, inside the band, RSI across the signal line. If I really want to jump in early, that would be my entry right there, boom. RSI signal line cross. We'll talk about early entries, but this is kind of standard for a second leg nameable pattern. Just RSI signal line cross. In this example, RSI signal line cross went below the market baseline, but most of the time it won't be. Okay. If it is below the market baseline, that's a very good setup right off the bat. So your entry is right there. Stop goes at the high of day and you're off to the races. Okay. Notice the out of the band in the band. All right. Here's an example of a 12 trade setup, which is the W. So here's my outside structure. Pull, and then they come back. Notice the spike right through the blue. Stop. Close above the 13, back below, back above. Notice this is trying to form a star formation, but never close above the 13 until here, but it's too close to the water. So you simply wait for it to close above, and then you go long from here. Okay. Notice the 12 setups, 12 trade setup even on the 1 hour chart. So here this is level 3, right? They hit it, they pulled off. Here's my blue tracer. They come right to the blue tracer and they give me a W right in here. Okay, again, notice the out of the band, in the band. Out of the band doesn't matter. The first out of the band just simply doesn't mean anything, because out of the band with no divergence is still out of the band. Out of the band, in the band, RSI above the market baseline. Okay. Okay, so notice the blue tracer, notice the pattern right on the blue tracer. Notice the one leg out of the band, one leg in the band. The question I missed this move. Well, we're going to cover that later on. That's the next move. Okay, we know it's coming. That's the best part. Okay, notice they can happen to form resets. Look at this reset. Okay, they hit it, close below 13, they come back the next day, right there, they widen the spread, they hit it, and then they create an M. Now you don't want to take this trade because you're too close to all the EMAs, especially you wait and then you take it. Okay. Here's an example of a 22 trade setup. Notice the double M as the reset anchor. So in this example, is a reset. So here's an M. And notice here's my blue tracer. They come and they throw another M right on that blue tracer, as well as the blueberry. The blueberry usually denotes a reset. Whenever you have a blueberry around, which is the 200 EMA on the 1 hour chart, very likely it is resetting. Okay. Again, the cool part is, here's my first leg, which is an M, out of the band, in the band. Here's my second leg, which is an M, out of the band, in the band. The same move. All right? Same move. Here's another 22 trade setup. Here's the W at the reset anchor. Because we've always been talking about level 3 anchors. Well, here's an example of a reset anchor. Okay, so here's the blueberry, first leg, second leg, close above, notice out of the band in the band, right? Boom, that's my first move. They come back, give me a second leg of the reset, they hit it. Here's another W, here's another out of band in the band. Same move. Okay, it's beautiful. That's why trade with TDI confirmation. All right, the 22 trade setup with a harmonic pattern. Okay, with a second leg half a bat. So here is an M. Okay, this is the anchor move, right? Coming off the level 3-ish pattern. Here's my blue tracer. Notice here's out of the band in the band, right? Right to the blue tracer. Okay, like a little M structure, but it's kind of tight. You could have taken it, or you simply wait for the trap, and then when it breaks, you take. Again, notice the out of the band in the band. It's the same thing. All right, it's pretty awesome. Okay, pretty simple, right? 12 and 22 is pretty simple. Okay, let us take a look at the 21 trade rules. 21 trade is slightly different. Okay, some people like it, some people don't, because the 2 denotes an M and the 1 denotes a half a bat. Okay, same rules, right? Vector to form the outside structure. Okay, so the first leg you're going to find an M, W, head and shoulders, no half a bat. M, shoulders as the first leg of the larger pattern. Okay, obviously the first leg is going to be the prior day, and today we're looking for a pattern at the blue tracer. All right, price will come to challenge the high of yesterday, forming the second leg, or low of yesterday. Price will create a or V as the second leg of the larger structure. The A or V is the half a bat. You got to follow the rules of a half a bat entry and enter the trade with TDI confirmation. Pretty simple. The rules are very simple. Okay, the question is, are you going to check everything off before you take the trade, or are you going to say, well, that's close enough, I'm going to take it? All right, that's on you. All right, so here is a 21 trade setup. Notice the setup on the blue tracer. So here's my M. Notice my M, right? Here's my M. And here's my blue tracer. So I'm looking for, ideally, sometimes they won't. And then I'm waiting for them to trap type 2, where they'll trap and then they'll break. Okay? When they give me a half a bat, most of the time I'll get a shock fin. That's all I'm going to get. Okay? I'm not going to get an M. Sometimes I will, most of the time I won't. Okay? Half a bat. Your entry is right after the half a bat. This is a type 2 half a bat. Okay, if you don't know what type it is, go and study the curriculum. It's in there. The 21 trade setups, the W comes first, then the half a bat. Earlier we saw an M, then the half a bat. Here's the W. This is the 1 hour chart, right? Same thing. Doesn't matter. Here's my W. Okay. It's more like a head and shoulders, right? Shoulder, head. Why head? Because if you notice, there's a whole bunch of candles down here. And then, of course, they come back and hit it. But it doesn't matter. If you think it's the W, is fine. It's still the W. Okay, in this example, you don't have an out of the band in the band. Okay, and then this is the peak formation low. Notice the blue tracer. They left the volume trapped in here, but they came and spiked to the blue tracer right here, creating a half a bat. Close above 13, back below. Okay, because it went above the 13, below 13, back above a type 1, get out of the band in the band move. But you cannot take the trade until RSI line is above the market baseline. Okay, we do not have an advanced half a bat pattern. We only have advanced M's and W's, no advanced half a bat. Okay. Here the 21 trade setup, the entry is on the half a bat pattern. Same thing, here's an M. Okay. Nice M. Here's my blue tracer. They hit it with a half a bat. Close below 13, back above, back below, and then give you a little second leg half a bat, sure. If you took it here, which is okay, all right? Close back above, you kill it, marginal, right? Took it here, close back, trap back above the water, you kill the trade, and then it rolls over, you take it again. Okay. Pretty straightforward. So now you guys know how to trade the level 3 based on reversal patterns and then what to look for clearly. Question is, why would you kill the trade? Whenever it traps, George, whenever this is a trap, right? That means it traps means that it got to close back above an EMA. The minute it traps, I kill the trade. Why? Because I have no idea. Because this is a half a bat. Now, if this is a full M structure, it's a different story. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. Okay, half a bat, because I have no idea if this is going to come back to the high or not. Some of you will take the trade and be like, hey, as long as it doesn't close above the 13, I'll stay in. That's okay. Watch the TDI. If there's a nice angle of separation, you do not have to kill the trade. We talked about how to hold the trade using TDI. This is just for my comfort. I'm comfortable doing that. I'll take a 1 pip scratch and then I'll beat them up right here with a second leg half a bat, my favorite setup. I'm going to go heavy. I want them to do this move. Okay. George is saying any EMA, yes, any EMA in line with me. So obviously if they trap above the 13, I'm out, right? If here's the 50 trap, I'm out. If you're the 200 right below and they go right below and okay. When they do a trap, they kind of go in the opposite direction. That's what a trap is. Okay. Okay, some pearls of wisdom here. Success is where preparation and opportunity meets. Okay. That's what you guys are doing here in the DMR. WSM viewer, homework helper, marking charts, being part of the study group on Sundays, being part of the book club with Trader Psychology with Steve. There's a lot of preparation. Okay, the opportunity is when you have a chance to sit in front of the screen and trade. All right, you guys are given this opportunity to be traders. We're showing you the highest probability in terms of setups. Okay, you now have to go and prepare homework, understand it, be comfortable with it. Be like, okay, I know what's coming next. That's huge, that's powerful. All right. And when they present, sometimes they don't, and that's okay. All right. We're not going to be right 100% of the time. Nobody's right 100% of the time. Okay. But when they present exactly the way you expect them to do, you beat them up. That's why it's called beat the market makers. Yep. Okay, guys. I don't see any questions here. The stock car racer. There you go. Bobby answer. Thanks, Paul. Okay.